2 Kings chapter 4, starting at verse 1, it says, one of the wives of the sons of the prophets cried out to Elisha, your servant, my husband, has died. You know that your servant feared the Lord. Now the creditor is coming to take my 2 children as slaves. Elisha asked her, what can I do for you? Tell me, what do you have in your house? She said, your servant has nothing in the house except a jar of oil. Then he said, go out and borrow empty containers from all your neighbors. Do not get just a few. Then go in and shut the door behind you and your sons, and pour oil into all these containers. Set the full ones to one side. So she left. After she had shut the door behind her and her sons, they kept bringing her containers, and she kept pouring. When they were full, she said to her son, bring me another container. But he replied, there aren't any more. Then the oil stopped. She went and told the man of God, and he said, watch this, go sell the oil and pay your debt. You and your sons can live on the rest. I want to keep preaching from the subject, get out. You may be seated. I'm going to ask you to turn to your neighbor, and you just tell your neighbor, it's time to get out. All right. Is that all right? Have you ever, you don't have to answer out loud, but have you ever been in something? Know you needed to get out of something, but for some reason or another, you just didn't get out of something. You ever been in something, wanted to get out, but for some reason or another, you stayed in? You ever been in something and wanted to get out, but you just didn't get out? Matter of fact, have you ever been in something and you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you weren't meant to be in it, but for some reason or another, you stayed in it? Well, this message is for you because I believe that that is a place called, quote unquote, a sunken place. If you've ever saw the movie Get Out, then you are familiar with, quote unquote, the sunken place. Here's what the sunken place is. The sunken place is a place where you know what's going on. You realize what's going on. You feel what's going on. You are aware as to what's going on. You know you need to get out. You're conscious. You want to, you need to, you got to, but you just can't get out. You are, quote unquote, stuck in a sunken place. This lady in the text was in a place and position just like that. She was in a sunken place. If you paid attention when I read, then you perhaps realized that she was in this sunken place called debt. She was in it. No, she knew she needed to get out of it, but for some reason or another, she couldn't get out of it. She was stuck in this sunken place of debt. And watch this. If you paid attention to what I read, you realize that she ended up in the situation because her husband had died. Got to focus real quick on him. He was, quote unquote, a man of God. He was, quote unquote, a minister. He was a messenger of God, but apparently, according to the text, he was bad with money. And because he was bad with money, he left his wife in a situation and a circumstance where the creditors were knocking on her door, getting ready to take her sons. She was in a sunken place because perhaps her husband wasn't good with money. He left her in debt, and the debt had become so big that she was about to lose her children. I got to say this again. I said it a little bit the last time we were together. This is for my men. Please realize that one day, especially if you got a wife, you got a significant other, please realize that one day you're going to die. You will not continue to live. One day you will die unless Jesus comes back first. So I need to prepare now for later. In the text, he did not prepare now for later, so he left his wife in a sunken place of debt. And she realized that she needed to get out, but in her eyes, she didn't have any resources to get out. But she knew, like some of us know, we need to get out. And we're trying to figure out, how can I get out? I've been in it so long. Matter of fact, I made some steps forward just to make more steps backwards. Stuck in a sunken place called debt. This was this lady's testimony. And even though she felt like she had no resources, even though she was quote unquote stuck in this sunken place, apparently she still had some faith, because the faith caused her to call out to the man of God. She realized that if she was going to get out, it was tied into the man of God. That displays faith. She didn't feel like she had anything to help her get out, but she had enough faith to at least reach out to the man of God. And the truth is, until we get fed up with the situation and the circumstances, until we get to the end of our rope, until we get sick and tired of being sick and tired, we'll probably continue to stay in. But she came to a point and place in her life where she was about to lose everything. Her children, who were nearest and dearest to her heart, she was about to lose them behind this debt. My question is, what is it going to take for us to get to the point and place like this lady? What do we have to almost lose before we say, I need to come up with a plan? I need to get up out of this sunken place. I need to stop making bad decisions when it comes to getting in debt. She was in this sunken place, but she had faith. And because she had faith, she reached out to the man of God. She reached out to the man of God, and notice that when she reached out to the man of God, he didn't give her a loan. He didn't give her a bailout. What did he give her? He gave her a plan. Here's my point. If we're going to get out, and you know who you are, if we're going to get out, and can I take it a step further? Get out and stay out. Because some of you in this building, guess what? You have got out, but you ended up back in. So we're talking about getting out and staying out. And here's what I'm saying. If we're going to get out of debt and stay out of debt, we need a plan. He gave her a plan. He gave her a plan, and it tied into seeking and seeing. Now, the seeking part, she did on her own. She did her part. She stepped out of the place where she was being sunken down, reached out to the man of God. So the seeking part, she did on her own. She sought out the man of God. And we talked about how in a practical sense, that means inviting spiritual and financial mentors into the process. That means, for example, a pastor, financial coach, or a mature believer. She went to Elisha representing wisdom and divine direction. From a practical sense, that means praying for a divine strategy before taking new action. That's what this lady did. She sought out the man of God, and that is an example of bringing God into the equation. So that may look like a pastor, that may look like a financial coach, that may look like a mature believer, that may look like studying biblical stewardship from Scripture. That may look like praying and asking God to give us wisdom, but we have to do the seeking. That's on us. That's our part. That's our first part. We have to do the seeking. We have to bring God into the equation. You've heard me say this before. I'll say it again. I got it from my mentor, Pastor Lee Jenkins. We are responsible for the input. God is responsible for the output. She did the input when she sought out the man of God. You know why some of us stay in this sunken place? Because we don't want to tell anybody. We stay in this sunken place of debt because we want to fool some folk. We want to make it seem like we got more than we really have, and really we don't have anything. So we won't tell anybody. But we're drowning in debt. We're in this sunken place. So I got to get outside of myself and realize that if I really want to get out, I got to bring some people into my circle. Some people who know something about getting out. Some people who don't mind seeing me get out. And we're going to talk about that in a little minute. But everybody don't want to see you get out. So you need to make sure that you choose the right folk when you make your choices. So she did the first part. She sought out the man of God. But it isn't just about seeking. It's about seeing. She needed to see the full picture. The man of God helped her to see something that she hadn't saw before. And perhaps when you tag up with the right person, when you connect with the right person, they can help you see some stuff you never saw before. He helped her to see you do have something in your house. You have some oil, and we can do something with that oil. You see, God can do a lot with a little. So whenever she sought out the man of God, he helped her to see what she needed to see so that she could do what she needed to do to get out. Anybody want to get out? You got to seek out the right folk. And when you seek them out, they will help you see what you need to see. She saw the full picture. And from a practical standpoint, we need to see the full picture if we're going to get out of this sunken place called debt. What does that mean? What does that look like? It looks like this. List every debt you have. List every resource you have. List every opportunity you have. And then identify what's in your house. You need to identify what's in your house. You may have some stuff on the inside of you that will help you to get out of debt. You need to identify what's in your house. That means your skills, your talents, and any tools that can be used for increase. And if you can't see it, that's why you need to tag team with somebody else. That's why you need to connect with somebody else, because maybe, just maybe, they can help you see it. So the first part of the plan tied into seeking and seeing. Here's the second part, strategize and share. This is the second move. The second move is to strategize and share. It means to plan with purpose and partnership. Notice that Elisha gave her a strategy. Did he not? He gave her a strategy. What was the strategy? He told her, he says, here's what I need you to do. I need you to go out and borrow containers from your neighbors. Then I need you to, watch this, and we're going to get into it a little deeper in a minute. I need you to shut the door. And when you shut the door, I need you to start pouring the oil. He gave her a strategy. He gave her a strategy, and the strategy involved her neighbors. You see, God blesses organized obedience. Faith without a plan is frustration. I think I need to say that again. Faith without a plan is frustration. She had faith, but she needed more than faith. She needed a plan. She needed a strategy, and the man of God helped her with her strategy. So here's how that looks from a practical standpoint when we're talking about strategizing and sharing. It means I need to write down a plan. And that plan includes spending, saving, and sharing. I need to start right there. And some of this stuff I'm talking about is easier to do when we understand what we talked about early on in this sermon series, Money Matters, when we understand the principle of lordship, when we understand the principle of ownership, and when we understand the principle of stewardship. When you understand those three principles, you won't have a problem writing down a plan that includes spending, saving, and sharing. Okay, here's another practical step when it comes to strategizing and sharing. Watch this. Choose your debt strategy. We all need a debt strategy. If you're in debt, and I'm specifically talking about bad debt, or another way to call it, or another way to say it is dumb debt. I'm specifically talking about dumb debt or bad debt. We need to choose a debt strategy to get out of dumb debt. So that may be, watch this, you may have heard this term before, the snowball. It could be the snowball plan, or it could be the avalanche plan. Here's the difference. The snowball plan starts with the smallest debt first. The avalanche plan starts with the highest interest rate first. But anyway it goes, we need a debt strategy plan if we're going to get out of this sunken place called debt. So that ties into the strategizing, but what about the sharing? I hope I'm not going too fast. I hope you're getting this, because I want all of us to get out. And I don't want us just to get out. I want us to stay out. So it has to be a strategy, but we don't stop just with strategizing. We have to share. We have to bring some people into our world. That means I share my journey with an accountability partner or some type of financial mentor. I have somebody that I check in with at least once a month, talking about my finances, talking about, am I sticking to the plan? I need that if I'm going to get out and stay out. I need some people, watch this, to get in my business. I know you're a private person. That's why you're probably in debt right now. You're too private. I need to put some people in my business. I need to share my word with some folk that'll check in and say, hey, how you doing with that dumb debt? Have you accumulated some new dumb debt? That's somebody's testimony. I got out of the old dumb debt, and then I accumulated some new dumb debt. Y'all just got quiet. I know I'm talking to somebody in this building. Here's another part of that plan. When it comes to sharing, I need to surround myself with people. Watch this. This is very important. I need to surround myself with people who will pour into me, not pull from me. Can I say that one more time? I need to surround myself with people who will pour into me, not pull from me. Some folk don't want to see you get out. I just said that earlier. We in the streets, we used to call it that crab bucket mentality. Soon as you make it to the top, somebody's right there to pull you back down because they don't want you to get out of the bucket either. But we're going to get out. I'm going to say that again. We're going to get out. Matter of fact, we've been in it too long. So when it comes to strategizing and sharing, the result is clear direction and supportive accountability. Truth is, we don't need everyone's input, just the right input. That's about strategizing and sharing. Can we take it a step further? Here's another move. Here's another step. He told her, shut and sail. This is deep. He tells the lady part of her plan. Remember, he didn't give her a loan. He gave her a plan. Part of her plan. He says, shut the door behind you. You see, shut the door behind you is a biblical principle. It's not just in that text. You will find it in several texts. It is a biblical principle that causes us to include who needs to be included and exclude who needs to be excluded. He says, shut the door. And some of us need to get that principle down real quick. We need to shut the door so that the people who need to be on the inside are on the inside, and the people who need to be on the outside are on the inside. But for some of us, we got people on the inside who need to be on the outside, and we have people on the outside who need to be on the inside. He says, shut the door. We need the right people in the room. We need the wrong people out of the room. Watch this. In this case, the miracle happened, watch this, in private with the ones who were affected most by the debt. When she shut the door, the miracle happened in private. And it happened in private with the ones who were affected most by the debt, which was the widow and her sons. It happened in private, and the oil flowed abundantly in private until she had no more jars to contain it. It all happened in private. The plan was being worked out in private. Some of it was done in public, but the core of it happened in private. We have to make room for the miracle part of the plan to manifest. I'm going to say that again. I got it right here in my notes. We need to make room for the miracle piece of the puzzle to come to pass. We got to make room for that. This lady in the text, this widow in the text, she made room for the miracle moment to take place. How did she make room? She made room by shutting the door. How did she make room? She made room by doing what the man of God told her to do. She made room by going and borrowing the jars from the neighbors. She made room, here it is, by obedience. She made room. This part that takes place in private could only be done by God. I'm going to let that sit there for a minute. She couldn't do that. She couldn't cause the oil to continue to flow. Only God could do that. But what she could do is make room for the miracle of God to show up in private. And here's what I'm trying to get you to see. The miracle of God will show up in private when we obey what he has told us to do. It'll show up in private. Watch this. But it won't stay private. It showed up in private, but it didn't stay private. How do I know? Because he tells her in the text, he says, here's what I want you to do, lady. I need you to take this and sell it and then pay your debt off and live from the rest. So it happened in private, but it didn't stay in private. When we make room for God to show up in a miraculous way, because the truth is, some of us are so deep in debt, it's going to take a miracle to get out. And really, that's why some of us stay in, because we don't feel that we can get out. But I came to tell you today, we're going to get out, and we're going to get out and stay out. Yes, it may take a miracle, but the miracle will not happen apart from us being obedient to what God is telling us to do right now. For her, he told her, he says, I need you to go borrow some containers from your neighbors. She had to get outside her comfort zone just to do that. She putting people in her business just to do that, but that was part of her obedience, and she did it well. Then he says, go back in and shut the door. Perhaps it didn't make sense, but watch this. She did it. And by her obeying God, it made room for the miracle. There is a part of getting out of debt that only God can do. And I'm trying to get you to see that He will do it when we obey. He'll do His part. We just need to do our part. Maybe just out of the blue, somebody reaches out. Once you start doing your part, maybe just out the blue, somebody reaches out and says, hey, I want to be your financial coach. I want to walk with you for the next 5 years. I want to give you this to get you started, so on and so forth. But it won't happen without obedience. The oil flowed abundantly in private until she had no more jars to contain it. Focus fuels flow. Thus, we need to protect the process while working the plan. That's on me. I need to protect the process while working the plan. So what does shutting and selling look like from a practical standpoint? We're trying to make this as practical as possible. What does shutting the door and selling the oil look like in 2025? What does it look like? Shutting the door looks like this. I need to shut the door to distractions. Am I in the right building? I need to shut the door to distractions. I also, watch this, I need to shut the door to spending temptations. For some of you, that means we need to log out of some stuff on our phone. Matter of fact, for some of us, that may just mean we need to use our phone just for text messages and phone calls. Shutting the door to distractions, spending temptations, and what about this one? Comparisons. I need to shut the door to compare myself to someone else. You know, sometimes we're scrolling on social media, we see somebody we know with this, and guess what? We wasn't even thinking about it until we saw them in it. Now we want it. Need to shut the door. It also means shutting the door. It means focusing on family, faith, and finances, not trends or talks, and telling all your business to those who really don't care anyway. Yeah. Shutting the door means focusing on faith, family, and finances, not trends or talks, and not telling my business to some folk that don't care about me anyway. There are some folk that do care, but we need to distinguish who those folk are. Those are the people we want in the room. The other people we don't want in the room. That's part of shutting the door. We want the people who are supposed to be in the room to be in the room. The people who don't need to be in the room, they need to be outside of the room. But I need discernment to be able to tell who's who. Okay, what about selling? Monetize your gifts. Perhaps you have a gift, you need to monetize it. Sell unused items. Some of y'all could have a garage sale right now. Sell that stuff. Offer services. Start a small side business. That's part of selling. Truth is, God may use what's already in your hands to birth a business that breaks the cycle of debt. Is that good? He may use what's already in your hands to birth a business that breaks the cycle of debt. Your oil can become an enterprise if you steward it faithfully. Here's another way to sell. Increase income intentionally and assign every dollar a purpose. The result will be diligence and discipline that produces overflow. Notice in the text that God multiplied movement, not idleness. When she moved, he multiplied it. She wasn't being idle. Just look at her in the text. She reached out to the man of God. He told her some things to do. She did it. She wasn't idle. She was moving. And God multiplied her movement. The last part, the last step is a slice and steward. That means to eliminate the debt and manage the freedom. Let me say that again. That means to eliminate the debt, but don't stop there. Manage the freedom or steward the freedom. So we say slice and steward. Elisha told her, pay your debt and you and your sons can live off the rest. Notice what he didn't tell her. He didn't tell her, pay your debt and live any type of way. He didn't tell her, pay your debt and get back into debt. He didn't say that. He says, pay your debt and you and your sons can live on the rest. That means that debt freedom isn't the finish line. I just lost somebody right there. Debt freedom is not the finish line. Do I want to be debt free? Yes. But that is not the finish line. It is the foundation for wise stewardship. So it's not, debt freedom isn't the finish line. It is the foundation for stewardship. God allows me or empowers me to become debt free. And then by being debt free, I have a foundation for wise stewardship moving forward. In other words, it is about getting out and staying out. Now, I got to say this. This is for my folk. And don't say a word because you're going to give yourself up if you say a word. But this is for my folk that don't like paying what you owe. Don't see y'all giving yourself up. Notice what he says. He says, pay your debt. So he tells her first, sell this oil, take the proceeds. He didn't tell her, take the proceeds and go on a cruise. Am I in the right building? He didn't tell her, take the proceeds and pay some of the debt. He says, pay your debt. In other words, pay what you owe. That's biblical. I shouldn't have got in it in the first place, but I got in it. I owe it. I need to pay it. I'm going to take it a step further. Using bankruptcy as a loophole for a Christian is unacceptable. Now, I understand there may be some true circumstances and situations, but when you're talking about loopholes, Christians don't go through loopholes. We pay what we owe. He tells her, he says, pay what you owe. And some of y'all get those calls, you know, you borrowed that money. You charged that card up. And now you mad at them because they calling you. Then you done put me on the application some kind of way. Y'all be amazed. Y'all would be amazed, man. People calling me, you know such and such, huh? Man, stop calling me. I don't owe you. Pay what you owe. He says, pay your debt and you and your sons can live off the rest. We're talking about slicing and stewarding. Here's where it gets painful. Here's what slicing means from a practical standpoint. It means exactly that. Especially for some of y'all. It means that you need not just to attack debt strategically one bill at a time. It does mean that, but it also means for some of you literally slicing up some credit cards. You done tried everything else. Watch this. You done put it, the card in water and froze it. You heard that? You heard that on YouTube. Freeze it. Freeze it, and you won't use it because you ain't gonna go through all the necessary means to unfreeze it just to use it. And guess what you do? Put it in the microwave, hit defrost, and use it. You need to slice it, cut it up, and put it in the trash. Cut those cords. Here it is. Perform plastic surgery, because plastic surgery may save your financial life. Here's what it also means when you're talking about slicing. Roll each payment amount into the next until everything is gone. So I pay one debt, and whatever I was using to pay that debt, now I let it trickle down to whatever other debt I have. And I just keep doing that until I eliminate all of the debt. And then I steward. Once I'm free, I live in that freedom. Living in that freedom means living in my means. I'm not trying to live outside of my means. It means saving, giving, investing, and teaching my children what I've learned. Think about the context of this story. Think about who's involved. Think about what those sons learned from their mother through this situation, through these circumstances. They learned a lot about finances. They learned some stuff not to do and some stuff they needed to do. And then the last part of slicing and stewarding ties into building an emergency fund and sowing generously, because stewardship keeps the oil flowing. Anybody want the oil to continue to flow? Stewardship does that. So in closing, we want to get out and stay out. In closing, my miracle begins when I stop focusing on what I lack and start using what I have. I'm going to say that again. I can get out and stay out because my miracle will begin when I stop focusing on what I lack and start focusing on what I have. My miracle will begin when I begin to seek God, see my resources, strategize and share with purpose, shut out distractions, sell what produces, slice debt, and steward what remains. If I want to get out, I don't need a loan. I need a plan. Looking at the life of this lady, we see the plan. We need to plan our work and work our plan.